Now, Republicans, including the Trump administration, have been trying to put a citizenship question into the 2020 census. Now, that question, of course, is basically really simple. They ask if you are a citizen, and you are required to answer if you're going to get counted, which, by the way, if you're a non-citizen, then you actually don't get counted. And that's sort of the whole point of it. Now, Republicans do claim that this is crucial to securing what they call fair elections. And that goes back to the myth and the fallacy that there is lots of undocumented immigrants that vote in these elections and that have unfair influence, and that, well, if they're not citizens, then they shouldn't be counted. Well, of course, right? Now, they say, again, we just want to be fair. We just want to have fair elections. We just want to have all the citizens counted and the non-citizens, because we think that gives an unfair advantage. Unfair advantage to who? Well, as you're going to see, unfair advantage to Democrats. And so they want to create their own unfair advantage. Now, according to newly unearthed documents written by a late GOP strategist, they show that the citizenship question is basically a way to increase Republican gerrymandering. Now, the New York Times reported that documents discovered on a hard drive of late GOP operative Thomas B. Hofeller revealed that he wrote a study in 2015 concluding that adding a citizenship question to the census would allow Republicans to draft even more extreme gerrymandered maps in order to gain power over Democrats. Fascinating. Now, Hofeller's study of Texas legislative districts, for example, concluded that the citizenship question would be advantageous to Republicans and non-Hispanic whites while hurting the political clout of Latino voters. So he looked at this and he said, look, I have a way where we can continue to amass more power and stop Democrats from getting power, even though Democrats and Latinos specifically are going to eventually outnumber us in the demographics. So we can continue to hold on to power and actually enact the tyranny of the minority over the majority. Now, of course, this goes to the Republican mantra: if you can't beat the system, cheat the system, right? And so, again, they're worried about Latinos outnumbering white people, which will be happening. And that means basically right now, if they don't do anything about it, then Republicans will never win another election, at least when it comes to nationally, right? And so they want more unfair electoral maps that would allow more of their voters to be represented in a district, and less Democratic voters being involved in a district. Now, gerrymandering, of course, is being basically allowing you to, or what it allows you to do is to choose your voters instead of having your voters choose you for your representation, right? Now, that's advantageous to either party. It's not just advantageous to Republicans. Democrats do it too. In fact, Democrats and Republicans both use gerrymandering to maintain their safe districts, their sources of power, right? That's where the dominant political party will never be challenged. So it is a big problem with both parties. Now, of course, Republicans seem more than happy to go even further with this to cement and solidify their own power. Now, minorities who tend to vote for Democrats more than Republicans are becoming a larger amount of the electorate. With that happening, Republicans are nervous that they will not be able to stay in power. Hence the citizenship question, which, if put into effect, will not count non-citizens, despite them existing in that district. And here's the thing, right? This will allow Republicans to gerrymander more effectively towards their own party. Now, in the documents, Hofeller explicitly states in his analysis that the citizenship question is necessary because otherwise there would be no way to create a thorough database of eligible voters in order to allow them to gerrymander their districts. Quote, without a question on citizenship being included in the 2020 decennial census questionnaire, the use of citizen voting age population is functionally unworkable. Now that explains, of course, since this is now a strategy among the Republican Party, why the Trump administration is pushing so hard to include the question on the 2020 census. Now, So here we have a clear plan to increase the power of Republicans electorally by erasing entire Latino communities from the census, which according to even some conservatives is unconstitutional. According to the Constitution, you're supposed to count everyone in those districts for the census, not just citizens. Non-citizens have to be included too, because they actually live in that area. If you don't count them, then it's not a proper, accurate representation of that area. So that's why you have to count everyone, right? Now, but if that's not bad enough, they're also lying about it. The documents also show that Hofeller wrote a portion of the draft letter sent to the Department of Justice during Trump's presidency that argues that the citizenship question is necessary to protect the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And there is some evidence that that is a persuasive argument among the court's conservative justices. Then again, those justices may or may not be in on this as well. The thing is, that is a complete lie. As they said earlier here, is that this entire thing would end up being advantageous to Republicans and non-Hispanic whites while hurting Latino voters. That's the whole point. And so, look, that's what Mr. Hofeller's study had concluded. But they don't care. They don't actually care. They know that they're losing their power. And instead of appealing to Latino voters, which they could do, changing their policies to be more welcoming of immigrants, they instead diminish their own representation, diminish the representation of Latino voters by hook or by crook. And right now, they're specifically focusing on Texas because of how large the Latino population is actually becoming. They're so afraid of losing their own power. And they are doubling down on their racist base and exclusionary political tricks. Because in the end, it's really kind of all they have. They have they have their racist base, and they have the corporate money, and that's it. They're neither conservative fiscally, nor do they represent actual traditional conservative values. They are the party of the corporatists and hate. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.